Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships today. And it's time to talk about the elephant in the room, or on the sea, if you will, being the Valparaíso. And I don't know if I'll ever say that right again, but this is the new Tier 9 or I say newer Tier 9 Pan-American battleship. And this is the Valparaíso experience you're going to see today that I'm highlighting for the Friday highlight video. And the ship's just busted. It doesn't belong in the game. And this first clip's really going to show you one of the main reasons why I think it doesn't belong in the game, at least in terms of how it's currently balanced. Because when I use the word balance, I mean it in a way that the ship is not balanced at all. Now, there's some things that Wargaming did to kind of... on paper, you would think this ship would be relatively balanced. But it really comes down to the consumable operation readiness skill, which you're going to see me utilize here in just, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 more minutes, where this ship is kind of like, how I would define it, it's like an anime protagonist, and he's facing a big boss, and he should die, but somehow, miraculously, he wakes up this inner power within him, and he doesn't die. He actually lives and gets stronger. And then a couple episodes later, he's in another near-death situation, wakes with him another inner power, and doesn't die, lives, gets stronger. And that's basically how to define this ship in terms of anime. And that's what frustrates me, either when I'm playing, I go up against a Valparaíso player, or even for myself, I'm going to feel frustration on behalf of this Conqueror and this Friesland, I believe it is. No, Groningen, excuse me. Here in a little bit, because every time you think you're about to kill this ship, it just comes back to life. Now, why is this ship so busted? I mean, you've probably seen, unless you've been perhaps living under a rock, you've probably seen a lot of other YouTube content creators and WoW's community contributors talking about this ship. And from what I've seen among a few of them that I've watched, you know, I completely agree with them. Like, this ship doesn't deserve to be as is. This is the most definite, this ship is the definition of a pay-to-win ship. So when it was first introduced, a lot of people didn't know necessarily how incredibly powerful the ship was, or when they finally realized it, it was like, oh, it was removed from sale for doubloons, I think it was, and it was over $100, $200, something in that range. And so the ship was just filthy. And then, you know, I have watched, when I've counted this, I've checked, you know, player stats. You know, and players that average maybe like 52, 53%, like they're getting 75 to 80% plus win rates in this boat. And let's not even talk about like the Unicum, Super Unicum players who are doing, you know, just as great, just as well with this boat. Now, I have only played this ship X amount of times, not too many, I think like 5 in randoms, and I've played it more elsewhere too, just to get my head around it. But I mean, it's basically the definition of the Pan-American battleships, where you build into the rudder shift. It's just incredibly super fast. Your 100, no, not 180, just your rudder shift time. I think I got it down to like 7 seconds or something. So it means you just get to angle obscenely fast, which is just like, you know, in situations you should be, oh, I'm completely broadside to that Yamato salvo. Well, by the time that Yamato's fired maybe like 18 4 kilometers away, like you can just completely angle into it just in time. So, even though, as you see, I've taken a lot of damage here already, the ship, it's somewhat soft. It's a combination of 32, 40mm, then some 300. So I think I saved it. No, I didn't save it. So 300 plus millimeter on the belt, main armor belt plating. It kind of differs underneath the forward main battery and the rear main battery. So now, this is where you're going to see the consumable operation readiness skill activated, where it's a negative 95% consumable preparation reload time and action time of 5 seconds. So once the secondaries, or if you get a kill, if you hit an enemy ship with secondary battery, it's plus 8%, destroy an enemy ship, it's 100%. It fulfills the status of this combat instructions. So now I want you to watch how close we actually get to dying here, because this Groningen is just eating me up. Like, he's doing everything right here, right? So activate the funny button. 1,679 hit points. Activate the heal. Ooh, really low again. Conqueror firing with the 419s, high explosive. I'm on fire. No worries. I'll just instantly use the damage control party. And then we're gonna, and I messed up utilizing the combat instructions too soon there, or I think I was getting the heal off again, actually, my bad. And it's already good to go again. The combat instructions skill has already refilled itself before my damage control party went on the cooldown. Here's the Grown again. He's going to be utilizing the armor piercing, of course, and I'm like, I'm tired of him. He's really eating through a lot of our hit points here, and he just needs to go. And he's dead. And then that leaves us just with no more heals. Now, if you build into it on the commander, you can get up to 7 heals. But then in this clip, which I don't have, and it's kind of one of the main points one of the reasons I also want to show you this clip, is if you take the improved repair party readiness, once you get 2 million potential damage, you'll get another consumable. So we'll actually get 8 heals, which I do recommend for the Valparaíso. But just kind of process what just happened there. Like, we burned through so many heals, several, I think, damage control parties, and we should be dead. We shouldn't be alive. That's just how it is this Fletcher player decides to open up on us. This flank collapsed really early on. We had a friendly Fletcher who suicided, and we had an Annapolis super ship player also suicide, shocker. So that's kind of why I was kiting out and then re-engaged here. Now, if I had the 8th heal, I'm pretty sure I could win the contest against the Conqueror. Maybe, perhaps. But one of the differences between the Valparaíso and something like, like the Libertad, which Libertad is already kind of like busted as is, but the Libertad gets 234mm secondary guns as well, and you only get 127s with the Valparaíso, so it means you're only ever going to pin 21mm on the secondary batteries here on Valparaíso, and I'm trying to see if I can yoink the Minotaur. So it was a dire situation on this flank, and my goal is just to try to take as many with me. And, we got 2 destroyers. I'm hoping maybe I can add in here, and we took out Jean Var, hoping maybe we can take the Minotaur, but we get knocked out before we have opportunity to lock on and get the shot fired there. So really what makes the ship busted is it just comes down to that consumable operation readiness skill. So I don't know, if they took that away from this boat, then I think the ship would be balanced at that point. I mean, you'd have to reduce the amount of super heals, because when you build for the heals and you take India Delta, you're getting over 20,000 hit points. I think it's just over 20,000. It's what the build I have. It's an 8.8 second consumable action time, and 2,368 HP per second when you take the India Delta. I got 2 more clips for you. This one was, I think it was my 3rd or 4th battle here. Then the 5th battle was like the big game, which you'll see after this. And I'll go ahead and show the build now. I forgot to talk about that earlier. I plan to go ahead and do the upgrade commander build video on this boat tomorrow. But I do take Brisk, as you see here. What I like about Brisk, when you pair it with the, is the name of this commander Joaquin something? It's this unique commander for the Pan Americans. He has a plus 12.5% on his Brisk skill rather than the standard 10%. And I like utilizing the Brisk just to get into position earlier, if I need to get behind some islands, covers. And then, you're not going to be able to utilize the Brisk naturally if you're fighting and spending most of your time in engagements, which is true. Otherwise you could talk about taking like Grease the Gears, or maybe you take Priority Target, but I don't really feel like Priority Target's worth it. You'd probably just be taking Grease the Gears just to get your turret traverse time turning sooner. But it's really not as much about this main battery, because it's weird. The main battery in this ship is like, sometimes it's consistent and other times it's just not at all, which is like, what the heck's going on? These are 381mm guns, by the way. So here I'm just going to chill out on this FDG, who's just going to kind of just suicide in. And I have the sub out on the flank, and so I'm trying to be mindful of him as well. But here again, just going to use the combat, or use the damage control party first, and then once it goes off cooldown time, if I decide, I can go and just utilize the combat instructions. So I guess, the Brisk, I really like having. I'd still take the auxiliary armaments in slot 6 just to have faster secondaries, so that basically the faster reloading secondaries means you fulfill your combat instructions faster because you need 8% per each secondary battery hit, or just a kill, a destruction, in order to fulfill the combat instructions. So you kind of saw in that last clip how close we were to dying, and just like getting that off again and again and again. The ship also has built-in propulsion, excuse me. So I know that sub's still on the flank. There's nothing else should be spotting me, so I'm like, there should be torps coming at me. He's probably just not pinging me. And then when you get to activate your brisk, I mean, it just feels really good, accelerating off the line. We go dark, so he's right there out on that corner. There's the torpedoes. So now we're gonna take our time here. You still have to be mindful. The biggest, I would say, weakness of Valparaíso is you, the player, in the sense that this ship can really make you feel invulnerable, and like you can just push in, and that's kind of, it happens a little bit to me in this clip. When I ate some additional torps that was just unnecessary, despite doing good that we've avoided torpedoes several times thus far. And I'm going to actually play with the sub, because I can see on the minimap the sub's right behind the island to the left, and he's probably just he's going to lie there and wait to torpedo me when I come around the island. So you just really have to be mindful with your positioning overall. Like, you know, if you don't have the combat instructions fulfilled, or you're not able to utilize them, you're like your secondary battery being fulfilled, you know, if you get caught out, you lose the long distance games to an extent with Valparaíso. Like, you know, the big thing that I usually see in how you take out a Valparaíso is either you're playing a battleship, or maybe like a battle cruiser like Seagate or something, Vermont, Yamato, those battleships, those battle cruisers, and you're looking to just absolutely wreck a Valparaíso player who's not paying attention, who's just broadside to you. And you can still do it with, you know, an Ohio, a Conqueror, a Montana. You're just looking to really you're really just looking to wreck them when they go broadside, and they're too they're not careful, essentially. The other thing is you utilizing torpedoes. So just torpedoes, and if you're not paying attention to the battleships that are kind of further out of your range, that are looking maybe for a broadside opportunity, I think that's the two things that I would say is your biggest weakness. Now, also, if a CV decides to focus you, you know, you've got on the bow and the stern 32mm plating, and on the deck too, but then when you get into the main superstructure section, like this is where I eat too many torps. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a Miyoko or whatever it is, I don't remember now, around the corner of the island. You have 40mm deck plating in the center, so you can still be overmatched, like, you know, Venezias, Columbos, those, of course, with the semi-armor piercing, those are definite weaknesses to you as a player. So you just really have to exercise caution as much as possible when you're encountering those kind of ships. And naturally, you want to be utilizing islands, you know, so here I'm taking a 3v1, and I'm not even worried necessarily about the cruiser off to my left. You know, I'm going to eat some pretty big damage there. You know, we have everything going. I'm going to utilize combat instructions here. And I can see here he's turning out to get the torpedoes off on the left side. So I should have turned back in. And I kind of have a deer in the headlights moment here. Because I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't catch that in time and looking to see what he was doing. So then I'm going to go ahead, and we should be using the damage control party here. And so we're going to eat like 4 torpedoes here, essentially. So, yeah. Oh, 3, excuse me. So, yeah. And we still lived through that, right? If I didn't have the combat instructions, we should have just died there after the first rack of torps we ate. You know, this ship is just beyond busted as it is. So we're gonna do a little bit more here, and then you're gonna go into the main event, where after kind of having this 3rd and 4th battle, I felt like, okay, I feel like I'm getting a pretty good overall hang of the ship. You know, I can also play it, you know, I like playing it on flanks in terms of just pushing a flank, utilizing the islands to close the distance. But the next map, we're actually going to play in the middle of the map due to how the islands work, and it's not Two Brothers. So it's 161,000 damage, 52,000 spotting, because we've just been fighting up on the front lines. Is no destroyers this game, and there was no CVs this game either. So that was really a big thing for us here, because destroyers will definitely cramp your style. So this is actually really good matchmaking for us, on top of, yeah, we were going up against tier 7s. So, I mean, on this same map, when I was playing against a Valparaiso player, me and my clan commander, you know, we're both in cruisers, and we were chipping away as much as possible on the Valparaiso player, but it was just impossible for us to kill him. Like, it just wasn't happening, because you just need heavy fire, or the ship needs to take heavy damage consistently in order to take it out. So here we are on, is this Shatter? I forget now. And I'm going to go ahead and push up to C. I do have a destroyer friendly that's pushing up into Bravo Cap with me. And I'm just going to end up moving up here and kind of chilling out for a bit at first. I can see there's a Chung Mu. Deep water torpedoes are definite. Look out for those. Again, you know, torpedoes and battleships, something like Colombo, getting an angle on you, more broadside to fire sap on you. That's your biggest weakness, in my opinion, and CV focusing you. And you know that you also have the Dutch airstrikes to worry about, but the Dutch airstrikes aren't as big of a thing because of the enhanced propulsion. Like, you just kind of you swing yourself out of it, or even utilizing your rudder shift to move out of it. You know, so here I want to get set up for the Bismarck, and I know that Chung Mu is going to be watching that top right corner of Bravo. So I'm going to just angle myself in here and try to put myself in a position where I can just 1v1 the Bismarck, and I should be safe from the deep water torpedoes. So I'm being spotted here. I'm guessing it's the Chung Mu's. Oh, it's the battleship there. That's actually seeing me, I think. That island is just low enough there. I don't know what else I can really say besides kind of giving more commentary in terms of the gaming. I might think of some other things. You know, naturally, you also get the depth charges. You don't get high explosive. That is definitely not a thing. Just the armor piercing. So, all right, let me just talk more about like my thoughts overall with the boat in terms of what Wargaming is doing. So, Wargaming has been in this kick for the last, let's say, 2 years, and it started with the super ships, where in order, because the player base is struggling so much as a whole, they started introducing more powerful ships that the average, or not, let's say average, but let's say the beneath 50%, or if you're below average or not good or just bad at the game, they started introducing more of these powerful ships so that it would kind of make up for the weaknesses of those who struggle in the game. Okay, and I'm not saying that's not necessarily a bad thing. How do I want to phrase this? I'm trying to find my words. It's not good overall just to do that, because what ends up happening is that, you know, players who are more competent in the game, or you know, really good players, Unicum, Super Unicum players, I mean, they just will wreck you. You know, that they give you the really good players, access to such powerful ships as well. Like, the only way to balance out that thought process of what Wargaming is doing, as far as I can tell, because I don't know, I don't have another reason as why Wargaming would be introducing these kind of really powerful ships, is you would have to like block players who are good in the game from playing these really overpowered ships. So you would basically have to be unfair in your treatment of players in the game in order to make the experience better for the players who don't play as good in the game. Now there is, of course, you know, why I was kind of hesitant in how I phrased that is like there is definitely a fun factor with these ships. Like, I feel filthy playing this ship. Like, it's really fun to just kind of dominate enemy players, but at the same time, it's like I prefer games that are really close. Not like, oh, I'm going to charge up the flank, and as long as I angle and position myself well, there's really not much you can do about it, right? So that's just like not cool that the players have to go through that kind of thing, as it were, because it really ends up creating like I think I would view it as like an unfair environment as the whole here. So, you know, so then, you know, we talk about super ships, we talk about, you know, so, you know, here I have to be careful of the battleship Georgia firing at long range, right? So again, long range battleships. But what's not good about this is, like, you know, Wargaming is continuing to introduce more and more of these powerful ships with all these funny buttons, these gimmick buttons, you know, World of Gimmicks, World of Magic Pixie Dust. and it's really taken an effect and toll on the game compared to when I first started playing. So, we're really getting to a point where it's like, and we had it. It was really cool of Wargaming to do. I don't know what they called it. I would just call it World of Warships Classics, where it was the older ships in the game without all the funny buttons. That was a lot better when you got to play it, but they had so many other different battle types at the same time that it was a struggle to find players to fulfill the roster or the lineup. So you end up having really long queue times, or you just be like, you couldn't drop depending on the time of day, especially on NA. It was just miserable. So here I'm going to go ahead and push. I think there's actually ends up being 2 destroyers here because Chungmu has dumped all of his torps. So I feel fine to move, and Jaeger with its tickle torps will do just fine. So not good for the Jaeger to put himself in a position like that. So I don't really know what Wargaming's thinking. I mean, it just makes the game, if you're not playing one of the funny button gimmick boats, it really sucks to just, I'm just going to get in my Izumo or my Fletcher at Tier 9, and then, with all the different destroyers, cruisers, battleships, aircraft carriers, hybrid ships, it's just like, it kind of makes it where it's like, well, these kind of ships to play is obsolete, so you have more like the overpowered builds, so to speak, if you will, in enough to get the most out of the game. So it's just really frustrating, I think, mainly just because I've been playing the game for 6 years now, so I remember what it was, and I think that's the hard thing. I mean, I'm not saying Wargaming shouldn't develop or improve the game. I think it just ends up becoming really unfair when you end up putting ships in the game like this, and you kind of just say balance. What's balance? And you just throw it out the window, right? So it's just like, and if you have the casual players who maybe they only play on the weekend, who don't really invest a lot into the game, and then they meet more of the committed crowd in the game that have more of these overpowered ships. Who either have the in-game resources like steel, or maybe if you bought the Valparaíso, if it was for doubloons, I'm sorry if it wasn't for doubloons, but I know it was for doubloons, or it was for cash, real life money, when it was first introduced into the game, then it just kind of makes it more of a frustrating experience. So then what you end up having is, I think we're actually seeing more players committed at the lower mid tiers to low tiers, just to get away from all the gimmicks and that. Like it's a nice breath of fresh air, if you will. So, anyhow, back to this in-game commentary. We're going to end up pushing in here on the, is it the Lepanto? So because of the free Tier 9 ship that Wargaming is giving out, like you're seeing a lot of Lepanto players, Fletcher players in particular. So we kind of have a influx of players who don't really know how to play the new 5 ships you can technically get for free. Here like the Hawaii is just running, and it's like, well, I want to push him and keep my secondaries on him, but still at the same time I have to be mindful of, I think it's a Yamato off to my left. I don't want to be showing him broadside, so I go ahead and re-angle, and I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to put the island to my left in between me and the Yamato. I also want to slow down and close the distance on the Lepanto, because once I go dark, Lepanto, he's blind, he can't see me, nor can I see him. And I don't want him necessarily going for a ram if it can be helped here. There's also Vampire 2 still on the loose, so we'll have to deal with him. We still have 4 heals left, so we've burned through... well, if I have improved priority readiness in this game, which I don't know if I did, if it activated, perhaps you caught it. When we should have already activated, we've probably burned through 4 heals, or it's only been 3 heals we've utilized. Now I go ahead and decide I want to take the engagement, so I'm going to push up. So we're going to go for his bow. You're angled there. We're going to take very minimum damage. We'll go ahead and utilize combat instructions. We're just going to put out the fire. But I think that's really nice if you're able to utilize the secondary battery. Submarines that are constantly pinging you, like you just get to erase their pings constantly. So you can actually even frustrate submarine players, and you can frustrate submarine players as you pick up the Kraken Unleashed. When you have CV players who maybe they blow your DCP, right? They've lined up, your DCP is now on cooldown, and they come back and set you on fire again. Well, psych, I'm a Valparaíso player, and I've got my secondary battery, or I just killed a ship and fulfilling the combat instructions, and I'm just going to put out the fire, put out the flood, thus negating your hard work. So I think that's the infuriating thing when you're going up against the Valparaíso. When you're playing it, I mean, I feel pretty great playing the boat in terms of like, as long as I recognize I'm angling my armor, I'm utilizing the ship's strengths. Like I want to keep the Yamato within my secondary range. I don't really want to go outside of it, but I know I need to be moving just to help avoiding some of the 460 rounds, finding more of their mark, if you will. Because I wanted him to keep activating my combat instructions, and you know the 127s are getting their damage done. So you know, again, the ship does not have the 234s of the Libertad, so don't expect to see like those higher alpha secondary salvos that you've seen in the past, just because again, only 127s. You know, so here, like, I'm not really stressed about this situation. You know, the Vampire can definitely work me down. He has a really fast reload on those British destroyer guns. And as we pick up Confederate, you know, I'm gonna keep moving. I'll activate my heals when I need to. I'll keep activating my combat instructions every time he sets me on fire. And sitting here, I get to play with my propulsion, so I can kind of mess with the Yamato salvos too a little bit. On fire again, we're just gonna put that out again. So sucks for you, Vampire 2, right? Yamato's pushing in rather than staying outside the secondary battery, so that's a little bit of a mistake from him. Like, if he just would have waited, like, I would have turned into a main battery contest, which, again, Valparaíso doesn't really excel in main battery contests. It excels in secondary battery close quarters, because I wouldn't be able to keep activating my combat instructions if Yamato had decided to just stay put and start reversing. So that meant that the fires that the Vampire 2 is setting on me would have stuck, and I just would be losing more health, and I wouldn't be able to, again, activate combat instructions, as I am going to take 2 torpedoes here. And I would have actually died right there if the Yamato would have just stayed in reverse there. So if you're going up against a Valparaíso player, ideally you want to stay outside of his secondary range. You don't want to feed the secondary battery, because when you feed the secondary battery, that's how Valparaíso is able to exist and stay alive. So just do be mindful of that. Now, of course, he could be sitting on a combat instructions already fulfilled, so then there's the potential like, oh, he gets over 40,000 hit points off 2 heals back to back, but then you need to like focus him down, and hopefully you've kept him more isolated. So because when you pick a fight with the Valparaíso close quarters, it's like, well, he's got the heals unless you get someone, he's distracted enough for a Vermont or a battleship in the backfield, or Colombo, Venezia, just to thin him down. Then it's you need backup. As a surface ship, you need backup if you're going up against the Valparaíso. And even though, as you saw in that last battle, there was 3 against us, and we still did okay. Granted, we did, of course, take lots of damage and not avoiding torpedoes really well, and was catching on. So the biggest way you're going to get rewarded the most out of Valparaíso is just having situational awareness, having map awareness of what's happening around you. Try to keep an eye on where destroyers may be. You know, so I know Vampire 2's in Bravo as an example. So I know I can just utilize and keep ions between him, and he only has 1 torp rack. I had a game I messed up, the GQ Johnny, which I've not played. I thought I only had 1 torp rack and had 2, so I full-on ate a full set of his second rack when I was pushing him. And basically the Shimakaze takes out the Vampire 2 here, and the game's over with our 5 destructions. So that's the boat in a nutshell, if you will. So let's go to post-battle results. I think we were running blue economic boosters, so we do 2.4 million credits with the E for Expert efficiency badge, Confederate, 2 close quarters, Dreadnought. You will get lots of Dreadnoughts with this boat, ideally, of course, if you make it alive to the end of the game. Kraken Unleashed, high caliber. So the 5 destroyed, 232,000 damage, 489 secondary battery hits, some planes shot down in the process, and only 55 secondary battery or main battery hits, with 2,847 base XP. Rhode Island also did really well. So there's a few of us that were putting a lot of weight into this match. Tripayev must have died really early there. That's like co-op base XP levels, but it happens to me too sometimes. And in detailed report, we took 192,000. I've had games I've taken over 200,000 damage with this boat just because the number of heals you get. You see 3.4 million potential damage there. Some spotting. We never did any damage to Trump, just shot down his planes. There you can see the other damage spread here as well. And then credits and XP all said and done. So, yeah, that is Valparaíso, if I'm saying that right. If not, I apologize. I'll do an upgrade commander build video on the boat tomorrow, walk you through. It's really similar to the other Pan American battleships, but the gimmick button just puts this ship on a whole another level that wargaming, if you're listening, you need to nerf. So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you didn't, give a thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. And until next time, take care.